Today we're going to learn how to
draw faces.
I'm a 30-year animation artist that still loves to draw and teach. One day my twin girls came to me and said,
Teach us how to draw.
Join
Emma and Ellie
and myself for
Drawing with Tom Bancroft and the Twins.
Welcome back, and this is episode 3, and today we're going to learn how to draw faces.
Woohoo!
Welcome back. How are you guys thinking about these? Are you enjoying this? Is it hard?
It's hard, but I think I'm learning a lot.
A little harder than you thought.
Yeah, it's a little surprising how hard it is, but...
Well, I've been doing this for 30 years, so yeah, it takes a long time. And so I hope everybody at home is drawing along and that you're not too sort of frustrated at times and things like that. That's part of the journey. Hopefully this sort of homework that you're doing, drawing, it's fun because, and if it is fun, then it's not work, right? So, yeah. I don't know. You guys feeling that?
I would agree to that.
Okay, all right. So today we are going to learn about drawing faces. And this is something that I think is going to be a little bit more fun. The first episode was how to use a pencil and learn about sketching. And we did learn about the basics of trying to see and the kind of the zen, the thought process. And then the second one was about, we got into a little bit of perspective and how to sort of capture what you see. Mm-hmm. This one we get to sort of learn a little bit more about what we see every day, which is faces. And so there's a lot to learn on this. We're going to just kind of touch on the beginning parts of it. I want to kind of reintroduce you. We are sponsored by Wacom. We have these wonderful Wacom Cintiq, and that's what this is.
Cool.
Plugged into my computer, and so I can run Photoshop off of it. And yeah, so here's what that looks like. That's the box, the Wacom
Dad's
one.
gonna get me one of those.
Oh
when
boy!
I become famous for
art.
For art, you know.
A little bit more practicing, but yes, that could be down the road. And so you guys are going to be using pencil and paper. Hopefully that's a lot of what people are using at home too, okay? So I'm going to start this off with a couple questions, which is, have you guys drawn faces very much? What do you know about drawing the human head?
I don't draw them a lot, but I know you've taught us a little bit.
That's what you started with.
Yeah, you say to draw like the oval or whatever, this face of the head, and then you like do like a plus sign, like
little crosshairs.
Where you lay
so that
eyes
shows you
on
where
the
you
mouth.
have your eyes. Yeah.
Okay, good. So you even know why we do the crosshairs, which is to know where to put the eyes and where to put the nose and the mouth. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that today. So this time I'm gonna do a little bit differently. I'm gonna draw on my Wacom 1 here and give you a little bit of art instruction, and then you guys are gonna do a little bit of drawing, okay? Awesome. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with a couple drawing tips. So first I'm gonna start with just the human eye, and most of this is gonna be a female character probably, so I'm gonna stick with that. Now, when you first start drawing, this is how we draw our eyes, right? And it's just this sort of diamond shape. And to me, this is probably a right eye, somebody's right eye if you're looking at their face. And what I did here is that I have kind of created this right down the middle, and what that ends up being then is like this sort of diamond shape, right? And then probably the pupils, right about here. Well, what I'd like to kind of show you is that that's not really how our eyes are. What we have really is this. This is a more accurate. See now how my center line is a lot lower? And that's really how our eyes work. And why that is, and then there's the pupil. And what we end up with is a flatter bottom. I want you to look at the shape difference, right? It's sort of a diamond or an almond here. Sorry, that's not a diamond at all. It's more of an almond right here. And then a more flat down here, and then a little bit rounder and more fuller shape up here. And what that ends up giving you is a lower pivot point. And why that is that if you remember, our eyes are just, if we take them out of our sockets, this is really what they look like, right? And what we're trying to show here is this skin flap down here, which is our bottom lid, and then another skin flap which is up here, which is our top lid. And what's important to know about that, especially when you get into animation later on, is that only the top, think about when you blink. Do you blink both lids?
The top, yeah.
Yeah, only the top. So the top does all when it does go into an eye blink, it's coming down from the top to shut, right? And this part doesn't do very much. That's the bottom lid. So knowing what we're drawing, I think, is important because that's going to help us change that shape so that when we go to doing more stylized eyes down the road, we want to kind of remember that it's a little flatter here and we end up with this sort of shape like this, and we can do real stylized eyes where the top is real thick, and that kind of becomes a real graphic shape for the eyelashes. And that's where our pupil is. So that's a nice little tip and trick I wanted to throw out there. And then next is the lips. Is that the lips, again, when you draw lips, I think when you're first starting out, you tend to do almost the same shape, right? And you do this, and you kind of just draw a line through the middle, right? And then like, oh, there's my lips. Well, that's not really what our lips look like, right? Our lips have this kind of a shape to them, almost like a bow. And in general, the top or the bottom, depending on the lip, is going to be a little thicker. Like here, I've drawn the top lip a little thinner, and I've drawn the bottom lip a little thicker. And that looks more like real lips. And there's a little upturn at the end. And really, because we have that divot, right, that's just below the nose, that's why we have this sort of little divot here. Okay? So there is that sort of butterfly-ish kind of a feel to it. And I think this ends up being a little bit more, and this goes right into the chin, of course. But that becomes a lot more of an interesting lip, right, than this. So we just want to kind of go beyond those basics. So that little art instruction was what I wanted to show you. And then now let's start talking about proportions, okay? So I'm going to do two different heads. And this is going to be more of a realistic head, what we call the generic kind of proportions of and it'll be the female head. And we start with kind of this oval shape. It's a circle, but a little bit higher. I'd like to do them a little higher so it becomes more of an oval. And in general, most art instruction, here's those crosshairs that you guys were talking about. The plus sign. That's what you call it. And so it goes down the middle, and then I have one that kind of cuts through the middle of that circle. And then I can kind of add a little bit of a jaw down here. And again, it's just sort of a V shape. And in general, that's how people do that, is they cut that in the middle. And then now that we have the chin, I go right down the middle of these 2 points, the chin and the eye line, and I go right about here, and that's where I put the nose. And then same here, between the nose line and the chin, I'll put the mouth. And we end up with those kind of proportions. And then the eyes are equal distance, so I'll draw sort of like a little gap. And basically, here's the thing, the eyes in general are about one eye apart. So as I draw this one here, I want to give half an eye's distance to the middle line, another half an eye distance to the next eye, and that pretty much helps me know where to put those eyes. Okay? Now the ears are going to be right about, the bottom of the ears are right about the bottom of the nose, and the top of the ear are about the middle to the top of the eyes. So you end up with little curves right here.
I'm so bad at doing ears.
Well, yeah, they are really hard. And from this angle, you're just going to see kind of a little weird shape here. And that's a whole nother lecture, so we won't get too deep into ears. But I want you to at least know all of the distances here. I'm going to erase this this weird eye here.
Like an alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gets distracting. So, but now we know, okay, now we have these sort of more based on human anatomy and proportions. And then, of course, the eyebrow would be about here. And remember, eyebrows kind of lead into this bridge of the nose that tapers to the middle. And you end up with this sort of triangle shape if you were to see the nose. Now, you don't want to draw that. You want to sort of just keep the nose lines very simple. But I think of that shape so that the nostrils kind of come out here. And we end up with that kind of a shape. Now, of course, we'd erase a lot of these, right? And we'd end up with something kind of like that. All right.
She has a little bit of a unibrow.
Yeah, so far she doesn't look very feminine either, does she? And then, but let's start adding a little bit of the lips here. This will help. And we'll add the bottom here. So again, I don't erase a lot, but I'm doing it now just so that we can get these shapes in there. The pupils, we'll just put it in the middle. I'm going to have it touch the bottom a little bit, so it'll be a little bit more wide-eyed. And we'll start giving her, now this isn't the most attractive girl ever. She's very generic, kind of looks like a clone. The better cheekbones would be right about here, right? So about just below the eyes is where the cheekbones, and that, in a lot of cases, some people's faces, that's the widest part, is right here at the cheekbones. And everything else tapers in. And then of course, here's another tip and trick, is that even though this is the top of the head, it's not really, because we have hair, and it's going to go above that. So I'm drawing off the side of the face, but I do want to have that hair kind of go above that shape, right? Because if it's sitting right on top of the head, it looks really thin. But hair has thickness, so it's going to always
have volume.
Volume. You know that from shampoo commercials, right? And then of course the neck is a tube, and if I were to draw that through, that you'd see that how that tube kind of connects into that shape. But that's how we end up with. Okay, so now that we know those general proportions and the distances and all those things that help us to know how to draw it, we can start doing a lot more unique faces and add some more diversity. So what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to get a little bit more cartoony, I'm going to lower my eye line so that now I have a bit bigger, wider face, and then my eye line's a lot lower here. And what that's going to help me do is, kind of like Ariel, I'm going to be able to draw bigger, rounder eyes, okay? And so now I can do this kind of a shape, right? I'm going to I know where the nose is supposed to go, but maybe I'll make it a little shorter. So I'm going to make it a little closer to her face and do like a little tiny little nose here. And my eyebrows are going to be basically here, but now I have a lot more forehead. And then here's my mouth. I'm going to go a little bit higher, maybe give her a little bit bigger chin. And, all right, and I like to do like thicker upper eyelashes here, so that makes that nice and like a little more feminine too. And then again, a little bit smaller ears, but see, I'm just using, I know what I did here, and now I'm just kind of using that as a guide, but I'm changing things. And this is what's going to give me a little bit different, more fun kind of a face. There's my hairline. And again, I'm going to now just do kind of the same kind of hair, just very simple. But I want you to see the difference between these two, right? And now I can do all kinds of faces. I can widen the nose. I can have larger lips. I can do smaller lips. I can have all different kinds of characters. I don't want you to think that that we're going to end up with the exact same character every time, because now that we know the formula, we can start changing the formula. That's what's great about that.
Make it a little more different.
Yeah. All right, girls. So let's see if you can give this a try now, okay?
All right, let's do it.
All right, girls. Well, that was fun, and I hope you got something out of that. Your drawings turned out great. What did you think? I mean, did you feel like you kind of grew in that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And that's how you create diversity, guys, is that making the nose a little bit bigger, a longer nose, a shorter nose, you can end up with all kinds of different female faces in this case, but also different ages too. And we didn't even talk about that, but that's a whole nother thing, is getting different races and different ages. And it's a lot more complex. But now that we know the basics and we know how to move those shapes around, we can control that later on and have a lot of variety. Well, thanks, girls. This has been fun. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to do another episode soon. But this has been Drawing with Tom Bancroft
and the twins.